What's
What's good,
up?
bro? What's good, brother? What you doing, man?
Trying to keep these dogs situated. I'm feeding them pork rinds.
Well, yeah. Pringles is usually the way to go too, man.
Well, I've got this. So
Yeah, brother.
so if y'all hear barking or crunching in the background, then you know that it's me trying to keep these dogs quiet. But the ones downstairs, I can't do anything with.
It could be mine too, man. I got a Doberman puppy as well, so not sure if you can see him, but he's right there chilling.
Yeah, mine's down here waiting for me to give him more treats.
I feel you. Good seeing you, man. How you feeling today?
Today is a whole lot better than yesterday. Yesterday, for everybody that didn't know, I was torn to shreds with the Crohn's and stuff that I have. That put me flatline yesterday. It was bad.
I feel for you, man. I used to play in a band called Lazy Eye. That our original drummer, he dealt with it, and we had shows we had to cancel. We had a whole bunch of things that were out of his control, man. It's kind of one of those things, like your body just when your guts just reject you, man. It's like there's nothing you can really do about it. And it was kind of, at the time, it was like, what's going on? But the more and more I learned about it, Crohn's and colitis and all those other things, man, it's like, that's something you don't ever want to have to deal with. But it's crazy how many people do.
Well, and the bad part is, it's like once I had my wreck, then it was, 10 times, because the Crohn's attacks like joints and stuff like that and gives you really bad joint pain. And the really bad joint pain ends up, for me, being 10 times worse than it should be. Like my knees, I wouldn't have minded somebody hacking off my knees yesterday.
Right. And everybody on the stream knows, the story. But I mean, that car crash, man, I've seen pictures from you, and I have known each other for a little while now. And it's like, just seeing what you came back through or came back from with that thing, man, like unbreakable for real. Like that shit was crazy.
Let's see. We had some questions. Let's see. Well, before we get into the questions, we're going to start off officially. Everybody, this is the Halftime with Bayern Ryan Instagram interview series. We've got Devon Lewow, multi-talented. He's a singer, songwriter. Yeah, he can't sing very well. but when you record everything, eventually it sounds good.
Auto-tune, right? They got apps for that,
But Devon's he's a songwriter, a singer. He's worked with Ludacris, David Banner, who is it?
Field Mobb.
Field Mobb.
If it was in the South, 2000 to 2010, I probably worked with him or know him, or Luda obviously being the first one that really kind of gave me my break, with my band Lazy Eye. And then more recently, I worked with David Banner on the God Box, actually sing on a track called Judy Blair, and play the bass on the track that closes out the album called Wisdom Cella. So shout out to David Banner, who is literally one of the best people on the face of this planet. So literally a family member to me, and I don't use that word very lightly. Yeah,
hopefully we can get him on here at some point.
That's the plan, man. Hopefully he's tuning in. Tune in, DB.
But everybody try to keep watch of the names that pop up down there. You may see David Banner pop up. You may see Troops pop up. And if Troops pops up, we're going to make fun of him.
Of course, man. That's my bro. That's my brody right there. But yeah, of course, he looks shaggier than I do. And you look at me, man, I'm like all yetied out right now. My hair's going crazy and it's madness. I usually have bleach blonde hair, but
that's why I got the hat on. The hair's insane. But everybody don't hold Devon accountable for that poor choice of Arsenal garbage he's got on.
It's not just the jersey, man. You know that. I take it with me everywhere. Yeah. No plastic fans here, bro. You know that. Hey, and that's the thing, man. Is like if you're gonna, and this is for everybody that's watching. Like I respect the hell out of you for supporting Bayern through and through. You know what I mean? Because it's like a lot of people, they just recently, and what I've seen a lot with the Premier League is everybody in America that wasn't really into the game until, it really started to pop off on television. Like, they're like, well, why should I follow a club? And why should I pick a club? Oh, I like a team that's winning, so I'm going to follow Man City or, something like that. And it's like, well, then actually go out and learn about your club. Like, learn where they were in the 90s, almost relegated, you know, like in League 4 or whatever it was. And like, actually take the time to go. I have friends that are Spurs fans, you know, and I rip the shit out of them for it, but they're actually knowledgeable, and they go and they learn their. So it's not really hard to know what trophies you haven't won because you haven't won anything. But you know, it's like they take the time. Shout out Eddie Stacy, my tattoo artist. You know, they take the time to actually learn. So that to me is the most awesome thing about, you know, the emergence of the American soccer football fan, whatever you want to call it. It's like we're actually taking the time to learn. And I was fortunate. I saw Arsenal in '94. You know, got to see him play Ipswich Town. Right, he scored 4-1. You know, it's kind of one of those things. Like, my heart was taken at Highbury. So I've been an Arsenal supporter for, God, what, 25 years now, you know. So
you now, I don't know the date, but I was watching the Sunderland Till I Die.
Yeah.
Now the Arsenal getting beat by Oxford United, was that 80s or earlier?
That's obviously a troops question, but we had hard times, man. Like, I think it was the 80s. You know, we had like the Rios runs, and you know, it wasn't pre-Winger. There was a lot of like not good times, and everybody forgets he came over from Nagoya in the Japanese league, you know, and people were like, who the hell is this French guy who's literally going to change this the game? Yeah, Indomitable Lion, I know 4-1 in Baku. I also know that you guys have bought every single trophy that you've ever had, and you were nothing when they had to save the bridge before Abramovich came in and paid for every single one of your trophies. So enjoy that Chelsea short run.
Now, he's going to bring up 2012 eventually.
Sure.
Because he normally does on like my Facebook. But yeah, y'all just hope to God the Champions League gets canceled so you don't get completely demolished and embarrassed in the Allianz this time around. You got lucky in 2012. The Chelsea crew got lucky.
There's a chant. There's a chant for them, and we all know it. It's 4 words: shit club, no history. Just say it on repeat. Shit club, no history.
Pretty much.
Kind of happens that way. But yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I appreciate all fans of any team. I've got a lot of friends here that I've noticed in the States and in Atlanta that have become Everton and Newcastle fans. I mean, talk about glutton for punishment, but like obviously in Atlanta, with Almiron being at Newcastle, there's that tie. But a lot of people have gone to Everton because they don't want to support Liverpool. Because Liverpool is seen as front running right now. And
I've seen a lot of people, like, I'll get this question on Facebook, or somebody will message me, hey, I want to follow a Bundesliga. And you asked me, I want to follow a Bundesliga team. How do I pick a Bundesliga team? And people that aren't football fans, it's how do I pick a football team? How do I pick a soccer team? How do I do this, that, or the other? And my thing is it's the easiest way to do it is, what kind of person are you? What interests you? Are you a hard worker? Are you this, you that, you this, you that? Because the more I watch, like, say, Sunderland Till I Die, if I had an English team, and obviously they're horrible and not a Premier League team.
Not a good
but
one.
I mean, Sunderland's one of those, just looking at the reaction of the fans. Those fans are hardcore. It runs the city. That's kind of like the lifeblood of the city. And those are the types of teams that's
borderline
I've seen
like
a lot
Schalke.
of.
Like the Gelsenkirchen teams. It kind of seems like the working cities would be more like the teams of the north, like the Leicesters and the Newcastles and the Sunderlands.
Well, except for Leipzig.
fucking
pansies.
Yeah. Well, explain that one to me. Why does everybody hate RB Leipzig? Because they have great players. I mean, Timo Werner and Dayo Upamecano, and I love Poulsen. I think Poulsen's is a beast.
Inside the country of Germany, you have the 50+1 rule. Pretty much says the fans or the members of the club, which 99.9% of the country are fans. So the fans own 50+1%. You see what I'm saying? So the fans own that much.
So you're not allowed to have a corporate sponsor. You can't have.
No, that's different. You can have corporate sponsors. You just can't. Owners. But you can have a corporate owner, but they can't own more than 50 or 49%.
Okay,
You see
so
what I'm
basically
saying?
you're avoiding a Cronky situation where there's
We're
share
we're
buyouts and clubs go
we're
private.
we're avoiding EPL,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah.
But the thing is what Leipzig did was they came in, they bought 2 small clubs, they bought 3 academies, and then combined them all into one, and then took their massive amounts of money and fed it into a team that obliterated the 4th tier, the 3rd tier, and the 2nd tier because they're playing with EPL level, or not EPL, they're playing with Bundesliga level players in the 3rd, 4th division. But instead of Leipzig starting a squad from scratch and starting in like the 8th or 9th tier, they bought 2 clubs that had like the license for the 4th or 5th tier.
Right.
So they skipped an entire, 4 or 5 years worth of grinding it out. They skipped over all of that. And then once they finally get into the Bundesliga, they're members of the club. They only have I think it may be up to 100 members of the club. And those members are all employees of Red Bull. So
there really is no 51. It's a corporate takeover. What's going on, Rusty? How you doing?
It's pretty much the Red Bull owns the club, and then because they needed the 50+1 rule to be in effect, they gave their executives and employees member status. And if you want to be a member of the club, I'm not. You can't quote me on the actual number, but it's in the region of like $3, $4, $5 grand to just join.
Wow.
And that's join every year. But with like Bayern Munich, you only pay, I think it's like 65
so it's like Arsenal's red
US dollars.
Yeah, like founding membership status here with Atlanta United. So yeah. I mean that makes sense.
And that's why people hate Red Bull because of that. They're circumventing the system. They're bringing the corporate commercialization of like a Manchester City to the German league and doing it the sneakiest, shittiest way possible.
So are they skirting FFP too, like Man City was doing by floating books and stuff like that? No, just purchasing players.
They don't. The players they purchase, it's not financial fair play. What they end up doing is they take their smaller teams that they've bought around the world and use them as a Leipzig 2 scenario.
So that's like the Tyler Adams scenario when Tyler Adams left Red Bull.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
It's the same reason why Naby Keita, Yusuf Poulsen, all these guys came from Austria and Red Bull Salzburg.
Okay.
And then just came. But the thing that sucks is you've got like an Erling Haaland, and the reason why they had an Erling Haaland there, and Red Bull Salzburg has such low release clauses, is because Leipzig normally calls those release clauses, and they're not paying 40, 50, 60 million dollars for talented young players. Well, that backfired with Erling Haaland because Erling Haaland did not want to be, with Leipzig.
So would you say they've basically created their own minor league system, similar to what Manchester City's done with like NYCFC and Sydney Wanderers, and basically like, hey, we'll just have a farm system and a scouting network all over the world.
A farm system scouting network that when you want to tap into that, you're not paying top dollar. You're still getting transfers, but
it sounds like insider trading.
Essentially, it's the football version of insider trading. Because teams like Bayern Munich, we still have to pay, like with Chris Richards to Dallas. If Chris Richards was in the first team, we'd still have to pay a first team level,
right,
price tag. Same way we did with Davies paying 13 or 14 million
to Vancouver. Yeah.
If we had a thing with them, like the Red Bull,
like if Red Bulls and like I said, like
they could have sat there and said, here's for 2 million you can get him instead of for 13 million you can get him. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Now, this kind of brings up a whole new scenario because obviously we're living in a different world now. And I saw somebody posted something the other day that it was like, you know, the days of the £100 million transfer are over, you know, and the days of the 400,000 euro a week player are over after this, because, you know, things are going to have to change. I see, I'm on your side. I don't think this changes anything. I think it just makes people even more go get your own while you can.
I think the $100 million transfer is always going to be there, because I'll tell you right off the bat, Jadon Sancho is not going for anything less than 110. Dortmund's already said it. Leroy Sané, even though I don't want, as the Bayern board called him, I don't like high-priced mercenaries. Sané, to this point, doesn't give a shit, so I don't want him here. I don't want to spend $100 million because some bunch of plastic fuckbags say that, hey, we need big names. Well, Bayern in 2013 had big names, but we won with guys that fit the system. Right. I want the best player for the system, not the best player on, like you said, FIFA or PES. I give two shits. But what I'm thinking is going to happen is you're going to have teams that stick to their guns as far as the $100 million players, because they know there's only a handful of teams at this point that has the money to be able to do it.
Right. That's the other thing, is the resources, just the resources themselves. Like we talk about these massive clubs as like some kind of monolith that's nothing's going to ever affect them. But I mean, you know, you see what a big deal it is for a massive club like Arsenal to say, hey, we're going to honor the working contracts of the people that are employed by us, at least through the end of May. You know, well, and that's like a big deal.
Well, and then you look at Spurs or Newcastle, who furloughed 550 jobs each so they can go back and make whatever that government unemployment check is.
Right.
For the UK, instead of greedy-ass Spurs players stepping up like Bayern's done, like Gladbach has done. A lot of the German teams have taken, now granted, they're only 20% pay cuts, but Jesus Christ, 20% pay cut of a $15 million contract, that's a lot of money.
And I just saw at the bottom of the ESPN ticker, like Atletico Madrid's team just agreed to a 70% pay cut for all players and staff. 70%. Now that, I mean, you know, and that's the thing that we need to remember is like, yeah, you've got your Diego Costas and you've got your Saul Niguez's and the players that are making big money. But that club's got a lot of youth too. They've got a lot of kids that are on maybe 8,000 euros a week, which is still a lot of money in the, you know, in the general span of living in existence. But if you take a 70% pay cut to that, your lifestyle changes.
Well, and you're also looking at, in Spain, it's been hit a whole lot harder.
Yeah.
So,
and I see Indomitable Lion saying Barcelona taking 70 as well, but they have to. Like Spain, Italy, South Korea, and the United States are like coronavirus epicenter, and they're saying that Spain is getting worse by the day, just like the United States is getting worse by the day. So, you know, when you look at things that become superfluous, and I hate to say that sports are superfluous, but as we've all seen, it's been 2 weeks now, or 2+ weeks now, and 3 weeks. I told you, man, it's Jan Blender Blurry 37th. I don't know what day it is, bro.
The only way I know it's 3 weeks is because Indomitable Lion posts every day. Coronavirus day, isolation day 19. It's been, and the one today was, it's been 3 weeks since I watched Liverpool play, and I was like, he's right.
Yeah, he's 100% right. I think March 12th was the last Atlanta Hawks game that I watched. I love NBA basketball, so.
Well, the new thing that's.
Oh, hold on. What up, Ballad? I see my boy Ballad is in, and he gave us some praying hands. So that is, if you haven't checked him out, Mr. Love Ballad, he is an amazing. I'm talking like Prince level singer. Go check him out. Yeah, that dude's incredible. He's got this one song called Jasmine that is literally just like next level, bro. But yeah, Mr. Love Ballad, go send him some German love.
I'll do my best. But no, it seems like the new going trend, because of the isolation and stuff, is like American football players, American basketball players, and then going on and playing video games for the fans.
Yeah, what the hell else are we supposed to do?
Well, but my thing is it's, for me, it's one of those things. You've got XYZ amount of NBA players, XYZ amount of NFL players.
Mm-hmm.
You've got XYZ amount of footballers worldwide. Play with the fans. Don't play so the fans can watch you. And this is what I've been stressing for players and stuff and clubs. And it seems like we talked on the phone, it seems like after my 300 and some odd emails and direct messages, people are starting to pick up on it.
Right.
Interact with the fans, because
there's no excuse now. There's no, I didn't see it. I was at practice. I was like, no, you have no excuse.
Practice is on the damn screen.
Yeah.
But I mean,
somebody else posted this the other day. If you don't emerge from this with a new skill, a side hustle, and a bunch of new friends, then you missed an amazing opportunity, because it's like, when else would you be told, like, don't go to work, don't worry about anything but staying healthy, and people are bitching about that. I mean, granted, I know that there's other instances to it, but every time I see somebody being like, oh, I'm so bored, I don't know what, it's like, dude, you got Google University, you got YouTube University, like at the touch of a finger. Like, go learn something new. I'm trying to learn everything that I possibly can learn about video production and sound editing and like shit that I would otherwise be like, yo, man, I'm way too busy. But now it's like, there's no excuse. I do my work, I get it done, and then it's literally like, okay, well, now what? So if you're not taking this opportunity to get better, man, then I'm sorry for you.
But I mean, if you look on Twitter and you look on some places on Facebook, it hasn't really hit Instagram much, but a lot of that political brouhaha bullshit doesn't normally trickle down to Instagram. Right. But the thing is, if you go on there, they're spending hours and days, and even if you turn on a TV in the U.S., I don't know what it's like in Germany or anything else, but you turn on a TV in the U.S. and it's all this, well, Democrats or Republicans are doing this, or Fox News is doing that, CNN's lying about this. So, I mean, it's a lot of people are spending most of their time, like Chris said, standing in line to get toilet paper, or or you're fighting with somebody over something that doesn't matter. Because you're complaining over crap that just
doesn't matter.
Pretty much.
Well, and Jon Stewart said it really well a couple of years ago when he still had his television show, and he was like, when it comes to political debates and most debates that involve, people taking really hard stances, there's usually 10% on the left that gets so entrenched that all they want to do is yell, and then there's 10% on the right that gets so entrenched and all they want to do is yell. And then there's the 80% of the rest of us that just want to put food on the table, and just want to not be as fat as we were yesterday. I
want to be as fat as I can get.
Of course, maybe have a little extra money in our pocket to not worry so much about things. Like I said, there's 80% of the country that doesn't want to get wrapped up in stupid shit. And that's the other thing that I bring up. Like, if you would have told me, a year ago, that the workers at Wendy's are considered essential, but yet you don't want to pay them $15 an hour. Like, this to me is just proof that our priorities are fucked.
Or the guy at the gas station.
Oh man,
like Chris. Chris is classified as essential because Bayern Frady 23 is Chris Frady. He's in the military. So he's classified as essential. And
that makes you say, like, what is essential? What is the definition of essential? And if that is truly the definition, shout out to educators. Shout out to coaches. Like, I'm a goalkeeper coach right now, and it kills me, man, to not be able to work with my kids, to literally not be able to see their progress, to not be able to, like, teach and coach and stuff like that. I'm new to it. But it's one of those things, like, it's a love situation. People don't get into coaching to make money. They get into it because they love it. Now, if they end up getting a Pro A license and make a shitload of money, then that's great. But the real reason that you coach or that you teach is because you love doing it. The real reason that these healthcare workers are putting their lives on the line every day is because they love doing it. They don't feel they don't feel a fulfillment in their soul if they're not acting, you know, in a way that would get them towards, you know, helping other people. So it's just, it's hard right now. And it's hard for other people. Like, it all comes back to that thing. If you don't emerge from this with new friends, new skills, and a side hustle, then you missed your opportunity.
Well, and for me, new enemies.
Well, yeah, of course. Shit, man. You can't, everywhere you go, you step on a hornet's nest. And I know this because I've seen it in person.
Yeah.
But you know, it's all love.
Everybody that's trying to figure out what he's, hold on, I got to give this dog a pork rind, so shut up. But everybody that's worried or wondering what he's talked about had seen it in person. Devon's on a I guess a fan TV channel, Atlanta United Fan TV. I always call it Atlanta Fan TV because I normally only talk to like 3 people, and everybody already knows who that is. Right. So it's Atlanta United Fan TV, and I was interviewed once, and I don't think they ever want me to come back because I think
AJ actually put up a not safe for work on your video.
Yeah, because I made sure with Devon, I was like, hey, what am I allowed to say? What am I not allowed to say? He's like, dude, just go for it. And as everybody knows, you never tell Ryan, dude, don't worry about it. Just say what you want. That's a bad thing for me.
Right.
So
let's just say I hadn't done my research.
He found out very quickly. And that's the first time I'd ever met AJ. And I think AJ found out quickly we may or may not be able to have this guy on again, because I went just straight out. I mean, yeah, I made Troops look calm in that one. And the thing was,
you made DT look civilized, bro.
I mean, I didn't get mad. I didn't get upset. It was just kind of like Ryan doesn't care, but Ryan's going to throw David Villa under the bus.
I was about to say it was David Villa. Oh my God, the brutality. That was just so brutal.
I went straight at David Villa. I went straight at Didier Drogba. I said Miguel Almiron ran like an ostrich.
And then you know, that stuck around because you know, obviously, you know, Joseph's family said the same thing about him and everything. But like when it came down to it, like Atlanta United's actually been Atlanta United games have been pretty good for you. You met Basti there, you know.
That took a lot of work.
No shit. I remember taking phone calls from you all game for that.
All right. Since Devon has to bring this up and call me out on my own show, but
what do you think this was?
This is my interview with you, not let's call Ryan out hour.
But we'll put that up there for the rest of the segment.
But shit. But for everybody that knows, I met Bastian Schweinsteiger after the Atlanta United game, and the thing was me and Devon, and it was supposed to be Archie Eversole, but we never found Archie. Still to this day, I've been to 4 Atlanta United matches, and every time it's Archie, we're going to meet up. Yeah, man, and never find him when I get there.
And then I get the text like 15 minutes after halftime, like, yo, I'm at the Heineken bar. Where y'all at? Like, bro, it's match time. Not to mention, Ryan's not, you know, the swiftest of movers. So
we go to the Atlanta-Chicago match. And the entire time, me and Devon's contacting Atlanta United representatives. I'm contacting Chicago Fire fans and representatives. Devon's contacting Chicago Fire fans. And the communications person gets in touch with me and is like, we'll see if we can get it done. Well, we'll see from a corporate entity normally is, yeah, I'll wait to the very last second and then tell you, I couldn't make it happen.
We appreciate your efforts.
Pretty much. So first half goes through, I'm texting and messaging and tweeting and all this kind of stuff. Called Devon 5 times. Halftime shows up. I run over to, not run. I did my quick run like this.
Fastest I've seen you move.
Raced over there. Said, I said, Devon, have you heard anything? What's going on? No, he hadn't heard anything. Devon's almost 3 shades to the wind at this point. And I'm like, dude, fuck, I guess screw it. It's not going to happen. So me and Mike go back to the handicap little area, and all of a sudden it's what, 78th minute, 79th minute.
It was like it was really, really late.
And I got a message from the communications guy for Chicago that said, after the match, I need you to meet me at this gate. And I was like, okay. So I told Mike, the guy that went down there with me, I sent a text to Devon. He's like, what are you still sitting there for?
Move!
So it was like the 81st, 82nd minute. And then it was like, Mike, we got to go. We got to go. Because I know the 70.
Like, the gate that he was telling y'all to go to was like on the other side. It was
the main entrance and exit of everyone, you know what I'm saying, on that side of the lower bowl. So I was like, let's go, Mike, let's go. So we start going, and he starts calling me, and he's like, I don't see you. I can only be here for a couple more minutes, and if I don't see you, I got to go. So I'm like shaking and losing my mind. So I sent Mike to go I was like, dude, find the only guy that's standing over here in a like a
suit
and tie.
Yeah.
And
that's Jamie with the fire, right?
Yeah.
Jamie.
And Mike's like, he's like, yeah, I'll go look for him. Well, the minute Mike walked off, I see Jamie. And I limp over there real quick, and I was looking for Mike, and he's like, we don't have time to find your friend. I was like, damn, man, this is something. He was coming down here. Fuck him.
Oh, well. Sorry, Mike.
So I start limping and use my crutches to follow Jamie back to the fire locker room and everything, and start looking around, and I see Mike, and he's like doing this. If Mike, if you see this, I apologize for this motion while you're over there telling, like, hey, do you want me to come over there? I was like, I basically stuck my tongue out, gave him two fingers, and I was like, deuce.
Yeah,
And,
he was none too happy at Dantana's after the match.
No. And then I sent him a text. I was like, dude, don't move. Don't go anywhere. He's like a 4-year-old. I told him don't go anywhere. When everything was said and done, I found him out there playing with that ball thing y'all got out there. He was putting like handprints on it, which is weird.
Imagine that.
But get back to where the Chicago Fire locker room is. And that's when I texted Devon. I was like, I think it's going to happen. And Devon sends me a text, shut up. Just do it. He's
just
like,
do it.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, I didn't want you to. Shut up, Elo. I see it. Oh man.
We will get to that here in a second. But I go back there, and Bastian Schweinsteiger comes out of the locker room after shaking and then shaking his hand and then asking him some questions and stuff. I was kind of mad that I didn't like have my phone out to actually record it. But we spoke about some things, and then you had like Dax McCarty walk out, and you had a bunch of other guys walk out, and just like offline talking to the guys. Bastian and Dax McCarty were like, dude, this club's fucked. I mean, they had just pretty much given me basic, and that's probably a good thing that it wasn't on camera, because they gave me like the most X-rated, R-rated response to the feeling in that club at that moment. So then
you were an ITK there for a second.
Pretty much. And then Jamie's like, hey, I've got one more interview to do. Go stand like down on this little end. And while I'm standing down there, Dax McCarty comes up, and we start talking. And then all of a sudden, Breck Shea shows up. Miles Robinson shows up. And they're all sitting there talking. And that's when I turned around. Yes, I was still on crutches. So I kind of like stood up real quick to see kind of how tall I was. And then I was like, dude, Miles Robinson's only like an inch taller than I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
and Breck, I think, was bigger than he was. So
yeah. But the thing is seeing all of these guys in person and seeing them that up close. One, I thought Dax McCarty was bigger than that. Mm-hmm. But Bastian wasn't much bigger, like built-wise, than I am. And Miles Robinson looks big on the field, and so does Breck Shea, but neither one of them are maybe weigh 10 more pounds than I do.
Right.
So it's just weird to see that.
Well, it's like your hero, man. Frank Ribery's not a big dude by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, he's
stout.
He's jacked, but I think he only came up to right below like my shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the NFL. A lot of these soccer players, like, that was the one thing, like, when we were in Charlotte, when we went to the Arsenal-Fiorentina match, you know, we were field level. So being right there for the post-match training sessions, like, you see these dudes, one, they're fast. Like, you think you're fast, these dudes are, like, watching Zach Medley for Arsenal do sprints was literally like watching Michael Johnson. I mean, he was just the fastest person I've ever seen I mean, like, just watching him do post-match sprints was like, okay, these guys are thoroughbreds. You know, Mesut Ozil person, his touch on the ball is just.
Well, me sitting when Chris Richards gave me tickets to I think it was the Hanover '96 game in Munich when I first got there in May, watching, because you always see on Twitter, Jerome Boateng's not that fast. His pace is horrible, which they base it off of a fucking video game.
Right.
Mats Hummels is so slow. Nicolas Sula is slow. Well, I can attest, Mats Hummels is slow as shit. But Jerome Boateng, for the massive size that man is, can scoot for as big as that dude is.
His one step is two of ours. You know what I mean? So so you think about that, and then over and above that, when you say that somebody that is a professional in the Bundesliga or in the Premier League sucks or is slow, it's like, well, number one, you're comparing them against other top-notch professionals. Like the Bundesliga or the Premier League are the 0.0001% of the 1% of the rest of the, you know, football players in the world. So, I mean, you're talking about, if a guy is slow in the Premier League, he'll whip your ass on Sunday. You know, if a guy defends for shit in the Bundesliga on Saturday, he'll destroy you on Monday. You know, you won't be able to get the ball back from them. So it's like, I really kind of hope that fans, this whole thing, fans need to really adjust. I mean, social media gives us this access, but when you're like denigrating people, and I'm guilty of it too, man, like, you know, Mustafi is one of those that I've said some things on Twitter that I wish I hadn't about, because it's like, then you read about how the people actually read them and how it affects their mental health. But it's like, you know, when you say that these,
I'm guilty. I'm here. Are you there?
Okay, there you go. So, yeah, sorry, your wheel was spinning.
I mean, it's with me, it's I've probably given Philip Coutinho or James Rodriguez more shit than anybody in history. But the thing is it's not based on, are they good, are they not good? It's, do they live up to the hype that everybody was coming in with? If you don't live up, because to be a Bayern Munich player, to be an Arsenal player, there's a certain standard. Yeah. If you're coming in with this hype above that standard, and it's 10 level, like James Rodriguez came in, supposed to be 10 levels above what Bayern Munich has at the position right now. He never lived up to it. Philip Coutinho was supposed to be $140, $150 million superstar, gigantic, wonderful guy. No, he hasn't. He's lived up to what an average number 10 would be. And an average number 10 is not bad.
Yeah, but how much of that is the crush of expectation? Because, or, you know, I look at somebody like Ousmane Dembele, or, you know, I mean, like the crush of that transfer. Look at a guy like, I mean, let's talk about Christian Benteke going from Palace to Liverpool. You know, you talk about a player who, you know, that was a 55 million pound, 60 million pound transfer. And he got to Liverpool and it was just literally like, yeah, this guy sucks. But it was like the weight of the expectation of the transfer. I'm watching it right now with Pepe. I mean, Nicola Pepe has put up a lot better stats later in the season. It took him a while to get going. But when you look at his totals now, it's like versus
he's not an $80 million player.
He's not an $80 million player, but for what people are, that's why I keep saying like the market has to correct, because there are so many players that you're seeing going for 25, 30, 35 that are probably 5 or 6, 7 million pound players. But because there's the Arsenal premium, or, Chelsea or Man City will outbid you for a Jack Rodwell or somebody like that. That's when you get these players that just, they're not these Louis Figo was a 30 million pound player. You think about that, like that, a world superstar was a 30 million pound player. And granted, that's years back in time, but
at that time, that was a lot. You know what I'm saying? That was a lot of money. But
exactly. But how many?
Nobody ever. Yeah, but nobody ever thought we're going to have a prima donna crybaby that should be on the Brazilian dive team for $200 million.
Right. Well, if you look at us, like, a team like Arsenal, we broke our transfer record with Andre Arshavin, and then we didn't break it again until Mesut Ozil. But we've broken it like 6 times since then. And it's just because players like Granit Xhaka was more expensive than Mesut Ozil. Pepe, more expensive than Mesut Ozil. Aubameyang, more expensive than Mesut Ozil. So, like, you just start running down Lacazette, more expensive than Mesut Ozil. You start running down these signings, and it's just the market has gone fucking crazy. The market has gone nuts. And it's just because, I don't know if it's TV deal money or what, but it's like, it's not sustainable. And it's created this situation where you have teams that skirt whatever FFP rules are going to be in place, because there's no real penalty. And if you get penalized, you just appeal it and give some money to somebody at FIFA to make the thing go away again, because, anything can happen that way, I guess. But
the craziest thing is like, as of today, the Deutsche Football League has now made it okay and legal to play in the Bundesliga or the 2 Bundesliga with a 16-year-old player.
Right.
So now 16-year-olds can play in the Bundesliga and Bundesliga 2. And one of the largest proponents of that was Dortmund. Dortmund was a huge proponent of allowing the 16-year-old players because of whoever that striker is that they have. They have a tendency to, instead of buy many, like 1 or 2 $60-70 million players that'll help them, they'll spend it on 20 kids that are quote unquote wonder kids, and then throw them in their academy, and then eventually claim that, oh, that's a Dortmund product, when it's like, no, you can't claim that kid as a Dortmund product, because
that happens a lot of times. You'll see people at Portsmouth or Wrexham or these smaller clubs get scooped up by a bigger academy in England all the time. You'll see a Dagenham Redbridge player signs with Arsenal. And it's like, and he's 14. But it's just like, he was scouted at his local club and then got picked up by that club. And that's the nature of the game. But I was going to say, like, when it comes down to teams like Dortmund, it seems like Dortmund and Schalke and Leverkusen, and I was going to ask you this, it seems like they build much like this dude vibing just said. Ajax, same thing. I love Ajax. That's my Eredivisie club. They build from within, and I was just going to ask you the same thing. Like, who are the Bayern youth products that we're going to see coming through the system here soon? Who's coming up through Bayern's ranks?
Well, it really depends on how you define they come out of Bayern's ranks. Because with Dortmund can easily sign, like, say, a Isak or somebody that plays 1 year in their academy and then they claim them. Or do you say somebody that came through and then we ended up selling them when they hit the Bayern 2 range? Because you've got guys like Mitchell Weiser, Sandro Wagner, Mats Hummels. You know what I'm saying? You've got David Alaba, Thomas Muller.
But those are all established names. I'm talking about coming up. Who's the next big dude to come out of your academy? Who is the next guy? Who's the next? Alphonso Davies. I know he didn't come from your academy, but who's the next it kid coming out of Bavaria? And Dele Alli sucks, Elo. Stop. Hey, I got to take a quick second while you're thinking on that.
Okay.
My boy Elo Stacks from the High Press podcast. He works at a hospital. He's a frontline healthcare worker. So I wanted to give some mad love to my man Eric. Elo Stacks. Go check him out. High Press podcast. I did an MLS preview with him, but dude is on the front line. Is real. This coronavirus thing is real. He posts videos, with his N95 mask every day. So. Just shout out to the healthcare providers, man. Y'all are doing heroes fucking work right now.
As far as who's going to be the next big name to come out of Bayern Munich's youth academy, I agree with one of the with the comment that said maybe Xerxes, but I still don't see Xerxes as being a world class level player, just like they said. If you're looking at at one specific player that can come up and be a world beater, it's going to be Lars Lucas Mai.
Okay.
Lars Lucas Mai is going to be the next Mats Hummels-ish type defender. Okay. The only thing that may hold him back is he's a little introverted. That may hold him back in this type of world. So if we're looking at a player that can market well for social media wise, kind of like an Alphonso Davies, it'd be Chris Richards. Chris Richards or Xerxes, those two can sell themselves very well.
Like he said, is Chris Richards on that level? Chris
Richards is about 2 years away from being a Jerome Boateng-ish type player. It depends on how Chris wants to establish himself, because he legitimately can play left back, right back, center back, and I still think he can play the center defending mid role as well. Right. So with that being said, Chris just needs to stay with what he's doing, but you can't get Jerome Boateng's size. You see,
can't teach size. Yeah.
The thing is he's that size. He's a big kid, but you can't put on that much weight and be a Nicolas Sula type player and want to play left back, right back. You're too big for a kid.
Sometimes also too, it just takes a physical maturing. You know what I mean? Like the difference
and he's
in
still
your body
a young kid.
The difference in your body from when you're 18 to when you're 22 to when you're 26 is, just like, think about the difference between when you were 10 and when you were 18. That's basically the same thing that you get.
If I had to compare Chris right now to a player at Bayern Munich, it'd be David Alaba.
Nice. That's lofty, man.
He's not the physically like powerful type player. He's shifty, he's quick, and he's got that like kind of slender side of the body type. Lars Lucas Mai is going to be a Jerome Boateng, Nicolas Sula, big,
big boy defender. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my question.
Well, somebody said
you guys can have the patience. Sorry, you guys, because we're going through it too. Like right now, I see the emergence. Kieran Tierney comes in, gets injured, and then Bukayo Saka emerges as one of the best left backs in the Prem at 18 years old. Do Bayern fans? We're going through it right now with Willock and Reece Nelson and all these young kids are coming through, and they're actually in our, not just our 18, they're in our starting 11. Does Bayern Munich have the patience to run a starting 11 that has 4 kids in it?
We'll never have 4 kids in a starting 11.
Okay. Because see, we're talking like next season. Next season, I'm talking about Willock, Nelson, Saka, Saliba. Those are 4 kids in 21.
We're in the second phase of the transition that was supposed to only happen 1 year. But as everyone knows, you're not going to transition out of a Robin, a Ribery, you know what I'm saying?
Rafinha and all those.
Rafinha, those level of players, you're not just going to have them phase out and then automatically bring them in. We've kind of been in a building role since like a Philip Lahm left.
The forever captain, right?
Yeah. But, the thing is now you're looking at, we've got Davies that can play left back. Lucas Hernandez can play left back. Alaba can play left back. Lucas
Hernandez
Hernandez
hasn't fit in as well as I thought he would. I know he had the injury, but he hasn't slotted in.
He hasn't played long enough.
Right.
I mean, you can't really do anything with him when he's hurt. But the thing is Lucas Hernandez brings a lot to the team when he's healthy. But my thing is at this point, Lucas Hernandez plays center back.
Right. Chadi Don, real quick, you say, but the expectations of Bayern versus Arsenal are totally different. Two different leagues, two different clubs, totally get that. But
they're not.
You cannot say they're not that different.
They're not.
When you get into the realm of Bayern and you get into the realm of Arsenal, you're talking about mega clubs. You're talking about teams that can do practically whatever they want, whenever they want. So it's not that different.
And Bayern could be classified as a super club with the likes of a Real Madrid, a Barcelona. I'm not putting Liverpool in there because Liverpool has not been consistent winning enough to be in that category. But, I mean, they don't even have the spending power to really say that they can be in that. Because they literally wouldn't have Virgil van Dijk, Alisson Becker, or half of those guys if they didn't sign Coutinho or sell Coutinho. So
also,
you're looking
Fenway
at
Sports Group wasn't putting buku cash into that program. FSG has pumped money into that place.
So you're looking at super club,
Arsenal
mega clubs.
Yes, Arsenal are a mega club. They're still the 9th most valuable club in the world.
But the clubs I'm talking about are like the top 5. You've got Manchester United. Yeah,
I'm answering your boy Lion. Yes, Arsenal are a mega club.
But the thing is we have the spending power and the reputation. Arsenal has the spending power and the history. Mm-hmm. They just don't have the reputation or that's more localized and not really localized. That's more recent.
I'll give you recent. We still have the most FA Cups. We're still, we're still second in the Premier League for the most Premier Leagues. So yes, it's been a down decade. But in that down decade, like, where's that? I think we have one Champions Cup before it was the Champions League.
The European Cup.
I think we have one of those.
Let's see. It says Bayern is literally expected to win every match. I don't think that is expected of Arsenal. But that's what we're saying is Arsenal's expectations are the same as Bayern's on a lower level because they have the history. They have the spending power. It's and I hate to say it, if the board at Arsenal would listen to people like Devon, would listen to people like Troops, DT, they may be in a better spot because it almost seems like the fans at Arsenal know more about what that club needs than the morons in the boardroom. But the thing is Arsenal has the spending power. They have the money. They have the tradition. They have the history. That's what clubs need to sell a big player. That's how you get a Pepe. Bayern has that history, has that recent history of winning. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And we definitely have the spending power. But
I'm not saying I'm not envious. Trust me, man.
I mean, there's a lot of
trade trophy cabinets.
Well, and that's my thing is with people that sit there and try to brag about Tottenham Hotspur. Well, Spurs, they have a deep history way back then.
61 and never again.
But I mean, the thing is recently they've choked a lot in a lot of competitions. When they went to the Champions League final, 2 years ago against Liverpool.
Last year.
Well, yeah, I keep forgetting that this year's not done yet.
Yeah.
But when they played Liverpool, they did a lot with nothing. They really didn't sign anybody. But Spurs
is Jorginho Wijnaldum's and the Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain signings. You sit back, that's why I really do think Klopp is one of the best managers in the world because he's had two major signings, and then he bought a bunch of Southampton players and turned them into Champions League champions. I mean, like honestly, like Sadio Mane, I'm not sure if Klein is still there, but like there was a while there was like if you were Southampton's best player, you were going to Liverpool.
Yeah.
And I mean Virgil van Dijk, you know, it's literally like what he's done with players that were either castaways or looking for a contract.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Andrew Robertson was a £2 million purchase from Hull.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Trent Alexander-Arnold, I believe, was in house, but you know, they haven't spent a shitload of money. Like Mane for what was he, 35 million? Like for what he's given you? Mm-hmm. Good Lord. I would take Sadio Mane in a heartbeat.
I'd take Mane over anybody in their striking group right now.
Yeah. I would take Mane, and a lot of people say that's crazy because of Salah. I think Salah is the poacher.
I think Salah's
he is the poacher's poacher.
I think he's the laziest player that has over 10 goals.
He's just super fast.
Well, he doesn't try until it's the last second.
Right.
And he gives up easy and second guesses a lot of his stuff now. So Salah's kind of a shadow of what he was the first year at Liverpool. But
because he hasn't had to do anything.
Because I've only got about 3 more minutes before this thing cuts me off. Well, but we can do this again. You're the easiest guest I can get. But
thanks, man.
before we go, I'm gonna allow you to do a halftime speech, not coronavirus related. So don't tell people to stay in. But just for anybody to get over the second half of their day, second half of their week, month, hour, life, however, your halftime speech, go for it.
So here goes. We're living in some crazy times. Everybody already knows that. But the number one thing that I would ask everybody that's watching this or that will watch this in the future is just be nice. Just be positive. Learn something new every day. Take the opportunity that we're given to make yourself better. You know what I mean? Like, and whether that making yourself better is just, you know, being friendly or learning something new, like take the opportunity to use this time that we have to affect positive change on the world, man. Like there's so much creativity popping out of people that I love seeing, man. Like, you know, I'm a YouTube connoisseur, so I'm sitting there watching all these new videos and blogs and podcasts and people being really, really smart, you know, and creative. It's a beautiful thing. I'm a music maker, so, you know, for me, it's sitting in the basement and just trying new things, you know. So I would encourage everybody out there to rethink your idea of failure, rethink your idea of beauty, and, you know, really understand that, you know, this is a hard reset for a lot of people, and use that as motivational fuel to better yourself, man. You know, don't worry about trivial shit. Like, the world is passing us by every day, and we just need to stop and smell the flowers a little bit, you know? Mm-hmm. That's kind of the way that I feel about it. So just love somebody, tell somebody that you love them, appreciate the day that we have, and that's really it, man. I'm not trying to wax, you know, philosophical on y'all, but I love y'all and I appreciate you watching, man. It's things like these that keep me going during this quarantine madness.
Well, and it's like Devon said, because I mean, I could go philosophical, but I'm not going to. I'll save that for the post later on so y'all can ignore it. But my thing is like he said, stop, smell the flowers, tell somebody that you know, check on them, make sure that they're healthy. The guy
your
down,
parents.
Call your parents, check on the old lady down the street, whatever. Make sure you call a Dortmund fan, tell them to go get bent. So
fuck off, Spuds.
But we've got about 23 seconds left, so Devon, have a good day, everybody. Hope y'all enjoyed. We'll talk to you later.
Deuces.